Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls the scenes of devastation in Ahmedabad saddening, holds review meeting with top officials, meets the injured and the lone survivor of the plane crash. Black box of the ill-fated AI71 flight recovered from the site. Search on for the cockpit voice recorder. India's Director General of Civil Aviation orders safety inspection on Boeing 787, 8 and 9 fleet of Air India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks to his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu, urges early restoration of peace and stability in the region. Other world leaders also call for restraint. And Bangladesh may hold elections in February next year, as agreed upon by the Chief Advisor of the interim government Muhammad Yunus and Bangladesh Nationalist Party's chairperson Tariq Rahman in a historic meeting in London. Tension soars in West Asia after Israel launched a series of powerful airstrikes deep inside Iran in what is being called as Operation Rising Lion. One of the main targets was the Natanz nuclear facility, believed to be central to Iran's nuclear program. The United Nations Security Council will hold a meeting over the evolving situation in West Asia later on Friday. DD India's Abhishek Bose brings us more in our next report.
Israel launched powerful airstrikes across Iran on Friday, saying they hit the heart of Iran's nuclear program. One of the main targets was Iran's key nuclear site at Natanz. This column of smoke you see on your screen is from Tabriz airport in northern Iran. Iranian state media reported that the country's two top military leaders, Hossein Salami, head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, and Mohammad Bagheri, Iran's armed forces chief, were killed. Several other senior commanders and nuclear scientists also died in the strikes. These include nuclear scientists Feridun Abbasi and Muhammad Mehdi Tahranchi. Iran has vowed a strong response.
The attack last night has proven to the entire world the truth of what the Islamic Republic of Iran has been declaring for many years, that aggression and criminality are intrinsic to the Zionist regime's nature. Of course, the Iranian nation and its officials will not remain silent in the face of this crime. The Islamic Republic of Iran's legitimate and powerful response will make the enemy regret its foolish actions.
In Tehran, crowds filled the streets protesting against Israel and calling for revenge. Earlier on Friday, Iran had launched about 100 drones toward Israel. Israeli media says all of them were shot down. A state of emergency was declared in Israel. Air raid sirens woke up people across Israel and emergency alerts buzzed on phones. Long lines formed at supermarkets as residents rushed to prepare. In Tel Aviv, Israel's financial hub, businesses stayed shut. Hospitals in Israel are relocating wards to underground parking areas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the attacks Operation Rising Lion. He said it was a precise mission to stop what he called an immediate threat to Israel's survival.
We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
Israel believes Iran is close to making nuclear weapons. It also wants to break up Iran's network of armed groups in the region. According to Israel, Iran has enough enriched uranium to build nuclear bombs in just days. A UN nuclear watchdog report earlier confirmed that Iran had stockpiled uranium enriched up to 60%, almost weapons grade, enough for 9 bombs. Tensions have been rising ever since the October 7 Hamas attack on Israel and the ongoing war in Gaza. Since then, Israel has targeted Iran's allies, including Hamas, Hezbollah, and Yemen's Houthis, killing key leaders and striking critical bases. The development suggests that this is not just a regional fight anymore. It's turning into a battle that could shake the entire West Asia. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
World leaders are calling for restraint after Israel's airstrikes on Iran. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and urged a return to peace and stability. DD India's Abhishek Bose reports.
World leaders called for restraint after Israel strikes Iran on Friday. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi received a phone call from his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. On social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, received a phone call from Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel. He briefed me on the evolving situation. I shared India's concerns and emphasized the need for early restoration of peace and stability in the region. India's Ministry of External Affairs issued a statement urging diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said it was crucial for NATO allies, including the United States, to work to de-escalate the situation in West Asia.
Well, it is obviously a rapidly evolving situation. This was a unilateral action by Israel. So I think it is crucial for many allies, including the United States, to work as we speak to de-escalate. I know they're doing that. And I think that is now the first order of the day.
The United Nations spokesperson in Geneva said Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned any military escalation in the wake of strikes. US President Donald Trump suggested that Iran had brought the attack on itself by resisting a US ultimatum in talks to restrict its nuclear program. International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi reported no elevated radiation levels in Iran but said he was ready to travel there to assess the situation.
At present, the competent Iranian authorities have confirmed that the Natanz enrichment site has been impacted and that there are no elevated radiation levels.
A special IAEA board meeting will be held over Israel's strikes on Iran. French President Emmanuel Macron said that France had repeatedly condemned the Iranian nuclear program and reaffirmed Israel's right to protect itself. Meanwhile, Russia condemned the sharp escalation of tensions between Israel and Iran and expressed concern. Israel is shutting its embassies around the world and has urged citizens to stay alert. Thousands of aircraft that fly between Europe, North America, and Asia moved away from Iran on Friday. European shares touched their lowest level in 3 weeks on Friday after Israel's attack on Iran shattered global risk sentiment and sent investors flocking to safe haven assets amid an already uncertain trade environment. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh joins us live from West Asia for more updates. Hi, Shubhendu. Iran's Supreme Leader and President have both vowed firm response to the overnight attacks. What sort of escalation can we now expect?
Hello, Tanvi. That's right. That's the question on everyone's mind. And the retaliation and the manner in which it has already started, if we take into consideration over 100 drones that have been launched from Iran towards Israel. This retaliation is going to determine the manner in which the escalation is going to play out, not just between these two countries, but the region as a whole. Experts although inform that the direct military power, the power to carry out a direct offensive against Israel. That kind of a capacity for Iran is considerably diminished if we look at the recent developments and conflicts that Iran has been engaged with. But yet again, Iran has always been known to exercise its real power through its proxies, like Houthis, like the one in Yemen, Hezbollah, and others. But collectively, their influence in the region has also diminished during the Gaza-Israel war. Also, Israel's impact on nuclear facilities, on the manner in which the ballistic architecture, its manufacturing capacity has been destroyed, because we're still getting initial reports about the manner in which the attacks have impacted Iran. So if the ballistic facility has been diminished significantly, that could also curtail Iran's response. But remember, Iran is also an energy giant, and the response and retaliation could also come in the form of the manner in which sort of plays its hand as far as the energy markets are concerned. We know it has already seen a very sensitive kind of an impact to the first day of the conflict. But we'll have to wait and watch how that escalation comes, although the leaders, as you mentioned, have promised a powerful retaliation.
Okay. Now, with Iran's nuclear sites attacked, how serious are the radiation concerns as of now?
That's right, Tanvi. The primary target of the Israeli strikes, the hundreds of fighter aircraft, when they flew over Iran, were the nuclear enrichment sites. Natanz is a city in Iran underneath which these nuclear enrichment sites, nuclear fuel enrichment sites, are situated deeply underground. So Natanz was one city which was heavily bombarded. These nuclear sites were bombarded. And so were the ballistic missile sites in Tehran and around Ashfahan and other cities around Tehran. But the nuclear watchdog IAEA took stock of the developments, especially in view of what kind of radiation leak could happen because of these attacks. The information that has come to us as far as IAEA's initial morning bulletin was concerned, it also took its update from the Iranian experts, who say that the attack on the nuclear bases in Iranian terms has failed. It has only sort of impacted the surface. The facilities, the enrichment facilities that are located deep underground are all safe, and therefore there is no risk of radiation. So on one hand, it safeguards the leakage facility, but it also then puts to question if the manner in which the Israeli strikes are going to continue, and they are. The latest coming in from Israel that the strikes are continuing across different locations, but for now, at least the threat of radiations from the nuclear sites appears to be in check.
Okay, thank you very much, Shubhendu Ghosh, reporting to us from West Asia there. And let me also now bring in former Indian senior diplomat Prabhu Dayal on the show. Welcome, sir, to the program. What would you say was Israel's objective in bombing a nuclear plant and other targets in Iran?
Well, Tanvi, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. Let me state that I served as deputy to the ambassador in the early 1980s in Tehran, and I used to hear Iranian leaders chant death to Israel. So Israel regards Iran as an existentialist threat. Iran's hostility towards Israel has become unrelenting, and I think it manifests itself all the time. And that's why Israel feels that if Iran were to acquire nuclear weapons, then the threat would increase even more. For years, you know, Netanyahu has been threatening that he would strike Iran's nuclear facilities, and he tried to do that this morning. It's not clear what the extent of the damage is, but there is some damage. And the reports which are coming out are that there is concern about whether there are radiation dangers also. Nonetheless, the important point is that a strike was carried out by Israel this morning, targeting military and nuclear facilities, as well as senior Iranian military leaders, you know, the chief of the Iranian armed forces and the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They were killed, and there were a number of nuclear scientists who were also killed. So it surely showed what Israel was targeting. You know, there's another important point. I think Israel feels that Iran is now militarily much weaker than it had been for many years. Much of its air defenses were eliminated by Israel in its strikes in October last year. And that gave Israeli Air Force some sort of freedom of operating in Iran's skies. Iran's proxies around the region have also been weakened. Hezbollah in Lebanon was considered to be Iran's first line of defense, and in fact a deterrence against Israeli attacks. But it was degraded in the conflict with Israel last year. And I think the same has happened to Hamas and Houthis, who were both considered Israel's proxies. So perhaps Israel thought that its window to operate was closing as Iran was rebuilding its air defenses, and its strike on Iran may have taken this factor into consideration.
Okay. Is the Israeli military strike at all likely to dissuade Iran from proceeding with its nuclear enrichment program?
Well, I think that both the United States and Israel are determined to stop Iran's nuclear enrichment program. The talks are scheduled to be held in Oman on Sunday between the representatives of the United States and Iran, but I believe Iran is saying that these have been cancelled. It won't send its representative. The fact is that Iran's military capability now is much less than that of Israel. And if you combine it with the military capabilities of the United States also, then naturally Israel is no match. Of course, the Americans have gone out of their way to say that they were not involved in the military strikes, though they have also said that they knew about it. But there is no doubt that the United States has helped Israel in a number of ways to strengthen its military capabilities. And now if both these countries are very keen to put an end to Iran's nuclear enrichment program and to ensure that Iran is not able to make nuclear weapons, then I think that the pressure on Iran is not going to ease.
Okay, Iran has vowed to respond strongly to Israel's attack at this stage, and considering the statements issued by both sides, does it look like that we could be headed for a significant military conflict in West Asia? And what kind of warfare would such a conflict involve?
There is always that risk of escalation. In fact, today, Iran reportedly fired about 100 drones at Israel. But from the reports that I have seen, the Israelis were able to shoot down all these. And in fact, yesterday, the Israelis had issued an instruction or sort of, a call to their citizens to stay near the bomb shelters. But I believe the news today is that the Israeli government has withdrawn those calls because they are not expecting any sort of major strike by Iran in the near future. So in other words, while the possibility of an Iranian counter-strike cannot be ruled out, by the look of things and by the manner in which the Israelis are taking stock of things, it doesn't seem that they are worried about any such strike at the moment. Let me also say that if there is an escalation, then the Iranians stand to suffer more. Look, Iran is weakened considerably. Its economy is in shambles. Although it is an oil power, but there have been severe restrictions and sanctions placed by the United States, and these have weakened Iran's ability to export its oil. Of course, it's exporting to China, but at very low rates. The prices it's getting are much lower than the going market prices. So the Iranian economy is in shambles. As I said, its military capability was weakened a lot by the Israeli strikes in October last year. And for both these reasons, its capacity to withstand attacks by Israel in retaliation for any escalation by Iran will not be much. It will stand much less chance of withstanding Israeli onslaughts than of mounting onslaughts on Israel.
Sir, Donald Trump's statement calling the strikes excellent have actually contradicted Washington's official stance that the Israeli action was unilateral. So do you see a situation arising in West Asia where US may perhaps be directly involved in the conflict?
You know, a lot of people feel that the United States was somehow involved. Although Donald Trump himself and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have both said that the United States did not take part in this military operation, although it was aware of what Israel was doing. But as I said earlier, there is a huge military backing which the United States already provides to Israel. And I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of intelligence sharing or sharing of any vital information in any case took place between the United States and Israel. So in other words, it's one thing about what Donald Trump is trying to portray, but it may be quite different in reality. And the proximity between the thinking of the United States and Israel in regard to Iran is very evident. Both consider Iran to be a big threat and feel that its threat capabilities would increase in case it got nuclear weapons also.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu Dayalji, for being with us and discussing this conflict in greater detail. Moving on now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the scenes of devastation in Ahmedabad saddening when he inspected the plane crash site in Gujarat's Meghaninagar area. The Indian Prime Minister also met the injured, including the lone survivor of the accident, Ramesh Vishwas Kumar. Meanwhile, authorities recovered the black box of the ill-fated AI71 flight. Also, India's civil aviation regulator DGCA has ordered safety checks on Air India's 787 Boeing fleet.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the crash site of the London-bound Air India flight, which crashed near the Ahmedabad airport. He was accompanied by Gujarat's Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel and Union Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu Kinjarapu. The Prime Minister met officials and emergency response teams working round the clock in the aftermath of the disaster and chaired a meeting with ministers and senior officials at Ahmedabad airport. PM Modi called on the family members of former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani, who was among the victims. Expressing solidarity with the affected families, PM Modi also met the injured, including the lone survivor, and assured them of the nation's unwavering support during this difficult time. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that he is in touch with UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, Portugal Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel, and Foreign Minister of Canada Anita Anand regarding the Ahmedabad plane crash. In a major breakthrough, the black box of the flight has been recovered from the crash site. Black box is key to providing details into the cause of the accident. Meanwhile, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation has issued directives to Air India to carry out additional maintenance actions on Boeing 787 8x9 aircraft equipped with Gen X engines with immediate effect. The formal probe into the accident is being led by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. Authorities have been carrying out DNA tests to confirm the identity of the deceased. Around 700 personnel of the paramilitary forces and 6 teams of the National Disaster Response Force, or the NDRF, are at the crash site since the incident took place. They are working alongside the local administration to recover the bodies. At least 241 people on board were killed after a London-bound Air India flight crashed near the Ahmedabad airport on Thursday in one of India's worst aviation disasters. The plane crashed into a medical college hostel during lunch hour. Bureau Report, DD India.
But there was one miraculous escape in Thursday's airline tragedy. It was the smallest twist of chance that made all the difference between life and death. The sole survivor of the Air India plane crash said that he walked out of a broken emergency exit after the aircraft hit a medical college hostel in Ahmedabad. DD India's Meghna Dev spoke to the UK national of Indian origin, Ramesh Vishwas Kumar.
The lone survivor who miraculously survived this fatal air crash is with us, is undergoing treatment at the civil hospital in Ahmedabad. What was the situation yesterday? Can you describe for us, please?
I can't explain. Everything happened in my eye. I can't.
How did you manage to escape?
I just...
Did you pull the emergency doors?
No. emergency door is broken.
Yeah.
My seat is broken.
Yeah.
Then I see the pace little bit.
Yeah.
Then I will try to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
So, did the aircraft catch fire before you came out?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit fire. After me, I'm out. Then blast.
So, did anybody help you, or you after that you came out on your own? How did you jump from the aircraft?
I'm not jumping.
Okay.
I just walk out, innit?
Okay.
Then ambulance coming in.
You did walk out on the building, or
No, in floor.
on the floor?
Yes. Inside the aeroplane.
Only there.
Yeah.
So, and you managed to get into the ambulance there? What did Prime Minister tell you? What was the conversation?
He's just asking me everything is okay. Innit? That's it.
You're feeling better now.
Yes.
And where your family? Where's your family?
Everybody's in London. Yes. Me and my brother staying in India last 8-9 months. And yesterday I was going to back to London. It happened everything there.
How do you feel that you have survived this kind of?
I can't explain. It's miracle everything.
So here we have the lone survivor of the crash, definitely at a loss of words of what he saw yesterday, and definitely something that nobody can encapsulate in words in terms of the massive tragedy that has struck with this airplane crash. What we also understand that this lone survivor is the only witness of what had happened that day. Besides, a number of people who were at the hostel mess during lunch have also faced serious injuries and are being treated at this hospital, the civil hospital here in Ahmedabad. With camera person Vinod Oja, this is Meghna Dev, 40D India from Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
So let's try and connect in just moments from now in what is being described as India's worst airline disaster. Let's connect with Meghna Dev joining us from Ahmedabad live now. Meghna, the black box has been recovered from the rooftop of the crash site. What kind of key evidence could this now provide?
Well, Tanvi, this black box is extremely crucial. We have seen wherever in aviation history any kind of crash or any kind of such an emergency takes place, or any kind of emergency landing, or for that matter any emergency takes place, the black box is the biggest and the most important evidence. Now, what we also see, the black box is made in such a way that it can withstand kinds of pressure, impact, and all kinds of extreme, we can say extreme conditions, so that it survives the kind of crash, impact, or any untoward situation. Besides that, it is also crucial because voice recordings are there. It can actually also tell about what had happened during those few seconds when this plane took off and when it crashed. So in middle of that time and before even starting, what all conversation happened in the cockpit, what happened exactly, that it can also reveal that. So that would also help ascertain what exactly happened. Besides, we also do see that the aircraft accident investigation bureau is also continuing with the investigation. They are being augmented by extra teams as well. Obviously, the entire investigation happens on international aviation protocols and rules that have been laid down for these kind of investigations. We also understand that a team from US and UK have also arrived. There's a committee that has been formed to ascertain and probably investigate and review the entire situation. So in the days to come, we will be able to understand as the situation unfolds and as the investigation progresses, we'll be able to understand what exactly caused it, because bystanders and the people who did actually see saw what happened in Ahmedabad clearly told us that there was no propulsion. Clearly, the aircraft could not climb the altitude and it crashed very near to the perimeter of the airport.
Yes, Meghna, thank you very much, Meghna, for all those updates there. Yes, the black box is going to be crucial. You're with us on India Newshour, still to come on the show. An expert take on India's worst airline disaster in Ahmedabad as the black box is recovered. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar stresses on strategic value of connectivity at the Raisina Mediterranean 2025 dialogue in France. And the first batch of the Kalash Mansur Yatra flagged off in New Delhi on Friday.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Tanvi Taneja, and now to discuss India's worst airline tragedy with us, we have N.K. Berry, former Regional Director, North, Air India. Welcome, sir, to DD India Newshour. Now, to start the discussion, what do you think will be the primary line of investigation in now what is also being called as the world's worst aviation disaster in nearly a decade?
First of all, I'm feeling sorrow for this tragedy, big tragedy, because I'm also pilot. I've flown more than 47 years, so more than 30 years with Air India only.
Okay.
With Boeing and Airbuses I've flown.
Okay.
And earlier with Border Security Force.
Okay.
So this pilot, he flew with me as a co-pilot also.
The one who was driving this plane?
Yeah.
Oh,
he is from Delhi.
Okay.
Basically. From Mayur Vihar. His father was Deputy Director, Director General Civil Aviation Office, licensing and all. So I'm feeling very sad.
You've lost a colleague.
Yes, he was like my brother.
Okay.
So we are in aviation of our whole family. My son is also pilot, my brother is also pilot.
Okay, so giving us a pilot's perspective, sir, what could have gone wrong in this incident?
Because I just heard that he called Mayday, Mayday, Mayday.
Yeah.
Very, very, distress moment for him. And then he said this power loss, something like that.
Okay.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
So it means no power. Both engines were failure.
Yeah.
Both engines flamed out.
Yeah.
So whatever in takeoff role he was done. So he climbed up to 300, 400 feet with that propulsion. And when the engine flamed out, then no power for engine, so he'll stall only. He tried to keep aircraft straight and all, but it came like a fireball. That was the main problem. Then he hit the some hostel and all.
Yeah, medical college hostel building. Yeah.
He entered into that. So all the wings and all, total fuel 50-60
gallons, yeah.
50-60,000 kilos minimum for this Dreamliner, because this is a 250-seater aircraft, so it can carry around 14-15 hours fuel. Approximately average fuel 4,000 for long flights per hour that aircraft consumes. I used to fly 747s.
747s, Boeings.
I have flown that more than 20 years.
Okay.
In Air India only.
So have you ever encountered any such engine failure in your experience of flying a Boeing?
Not engine failure, some other problems.
Problems have occurred in the past.
Yeah, small loss in engine power and all. So because we had 4 engines, this has 2 engines, but very powerful engine. Boeing is quite good company, so I think something.
If I may ask you personally, comparing Boeing and Airbus, which gives you a superior flying experience?
See, ma'am, Boeing is quite easy to fly. I have flown Airbus also, Airbus 310.
Okay.
Around more than 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hours I have flown Airbus also. So I have flown Boeing more than 20, easier
Okay. Now coming
and
to
pilot friendly.
Pilot friendly.
Yes.
Boeing is pilot friendly.
Yes.
Okay. Now the formal probe into the accident is being led by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. Can you exactly tell us what are the functions of this body and what evidence will it be looking for from the black box?
See, they will take out all. I think they have taken out the DFDR and black box and CVR. CVR will, cockpit voice recorder, will tell you what conversation they last did. And DFDR, all
digital flight data recorder.
Digital flight recorder, all the parameters of the flight, climb phase, or when it has gone down, that phase, everything will be given in that. So.
And the third thing you were mentioning?
Third thing, they will check from the aircraft.
Okay. So apparently there are
with
two black boxes.
All three things they will analyze. And I think Boeing people will also come in this investigation. DGC is the main.
And DGC has ordered Air India to do a safety check, maintenance check of all their Boeings. So what does it mean for Air India?
See, now they will check every day, every aircraft's PDR and all, any snag in aircraft, has it rectified or not, it is a go item or no go item.
Okay.
Go item means you can fly as per the manufacturer.
Okay.
Or no go item means you cannot fly that plane till that is rectified.
But isn't it part of the regular scrutiny procedure before?
It is a regular scrutiny procedure. So when this type of accident happens, these all things start coming.
Of course they do, but do you think that this procedure failed in this scenario, the safety maintenance check?
See, it is very early to say. Till the DFDR and CVR opens, I cannot comment. But after seeing that the engine loss, both engines flame out, I can see, or the landing gears were also down in this phase.
What does this
Generally
mean?
Within 30 seconds we used to take the gear up.
Gear up.
Yeah, gear up means then drag will be very much decreased and then flaps. So aircraft speed increases, like it went on 150 or 160 knot speed takeoff, rotation speed, and then it keep on climbing, and when the gear goes up then it increased 200. Basically we can climb 6,000 feet in 1 minute, but it has gone just 600 or 500 feet, which I saw. It is too less. It means the power they used, that only power was there, and after that both the engines flame out. That's what
looks like primarily.
With my experience.
Of course, sir. Thursday's crash was the first for the Dreamliner since this wide jet began flying commercially in 2011. Now, Boeing has said that it is aware of these problems in its 787 fleet. How serious are these concerns for Boeing?
That time it was very serious. 1 year it was grounded when it came. In Air India also. I also went for that, but I came back. So then I flew back my 747s.
Okay.
So that glitches comes, like 737 MAX also crashed.
Yes. So do you think there will be a possibility that Air India will have to ground its Boeing fleet of 787?
I don't think.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Whistleblowers have reportedly, been voicing serious concerns about alleged flaws in Boeing's Dreamliner aircraft. Do you see Boeing sufficiently addressing these concerns or in the near future now, because now answers will be asked by Boeing
Boeing
as
is
well.
doing quite well. I don't think they will not answer, because Boeing is a very good company and they make good aircrafts. See, I have flown more than 22 years Boeings only, and I have flown Airbuses also.
But
I have flown DC-3s also.
But something must have gone wrong, sir, right, in the assembly, or I don't know.
No. Once you are flying so many, so many years, only engineers can tell. They can check in PDR any snag of this aircraft was there or not.
Okay.
All these things, after checking only.
Okay, sir, finally, yes, it is the worst airline disaster in India's aviation history. What lessons can we draw from this tragic episode?
Tragic. you have to be very careful. All the pilots should fly and see any snag in that. They should not take aircraft with snags. So that is the thing, to save people. So
Of course, it's tragic scenes that have unfolded. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited the site today. He has met the lone survivor, also the miraculous escape. Yes, answers will be sought and we all await the investigation to proceed further. Thank you very much for being with us on DD India News App.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shifting focus now, a legal tug of war unfolds as the Trump administration secures a temporary hold on control of California's National Guard. Judge Charles Breyer had earlier ordered the force be returned to Governor Newsom, calling Trump's actions an overreach. This comes after days of protests in Los Angeles over immigration raids, which were met with a large federal troop deployment. More in our next report.
The Trump administration won a temporary reprieve to retain control of California National Guard troops until at least Tuesday. Following a day of legal wrangling over the president's decision to deploy them to quell demonstrations in Los Angeles sparked by immigration raids. However, District Judge Charles Breyer ordered President Trump to return control to Governor Gavin Newsom, accusing him of exaggerating the unrest and overstepping his authority.
I'm sure the Trump administration is going to appeal this decision. We've seen him defy court rulings in the past, and we need to be very aware of that. And so the people of this community have to stay loud, they have to stay in the streets, and that's going to continue until ICE is no longer using weapons of war against our communities, and the president is no longer employing the National Guard and the Marines against its own people.
Protests against Trump's immigration raids in Los Angeles have led to sporadic violence, including vandalism, looting, and clashes with police. Though largely confined to a few blocks, Trump deployed 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines, claiming the city was out of control, despite objections from local officials and accusations that he exaggerated the situation. For the first time since 1965, a US president deployed the National Guard over the objections of a state governor. Critics called it a power grab as demonstrators across Los Angeles condemned the immigration crackdown. Trump, however, remained defiant, declaring on Friday that he saved LA and claiming the city would be burning to the ground without military intervention. As legal battles continue and tensions remain high, all eyes are now on Tuesday's hearing, a pivotal moment in the growing clash between federal authority and state rights. Ravindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
Bangladesh's next general election may take place in the second week of February 2026 as agreed by Chief Advisor of the Interim Government of Bangladesh Mohammad Yunus and Bangladesh Nationalist Party Acting Chairperson Tariq Rahman in a historic meeting in London on Friday. Reading out this statement in a press briefing, National Security Advisor of Bangladesh Khalilur Rahman said Tariq proposed to Dr. Yunus to hold the elections before Ramadan next year, which is likely to start on 17th February, subject to the lunar sighting. The much-hyped meeting between Yunus and Tariq ended after nearly 1.5 hours of discussions on various crucial issues ahead of the general election in Bangladesh. The Raisina Maritime Dialogue concluded today in the port city of Marseille, France. The two-day event was jointly organized by India's Observer Research Foundation, ORF, and the French shipping group CMA, CGM. The dialogue brought together ministers, diplomats, defense experts and industry leaders to discuss maritime security, trade and international cooperation. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar led the Indian delegation and took part in a key panel discussion with France's Minister for Europe and Foreign and Armenian Foreign Minister. The minister spoke on a wide range of topics including maritime crime, ocean governance, regional security and freedom of navigation. A major focus of the discussions was on strengthening defense partnerships, developing trusted supply chains and improving connectivity projects, especially between India and Europe.
Where maritime security is concerned, India is making a significant contribution in the Indo-Pacific. We have forces deployed in the northern Arabian Sea, in the Gulf of Somalia, dealing with threats, including missile attacks on maritime shipping. So it is an area where we have responsibilities, we take them very seriously, and we execute many of those responsibilities in conjunction with our trusted partners.
Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri met Chinese Vice Foreign Minister Sun Weidong in New Delhi on Thursday. As per official statements, the two sides reviewed the developments in India-China bilateral relations since their last meeting in Beijing on 27 January 2025 and agreed to continue to agreed to continue to stabilize and rebuild ties with priority on people-centric engagements. The two sides also agreed to expedite steps involved in resuming direct air services between the two countries. India's Minister of State for External Affairs and Textiles, Pabitra Margarita, flagged off the first batch of pilgrims for the Kalash Mansur Yatra 2025 on Friday from New Delhi. While addressing the gathering, the minister congratulated the selected yatris and extended his best wishes for a safe and spiritually fulfilling journey. In his remarks, Minister Margarita acknowledged the vital contributions of multiple Government of India ministries and agencies. He also expressed appreciation to the Chinese authorities for their cooperation. The global weather landscape is marked by increasing extreme events and the impacts of climate change. More frequent and intense heat waves are being observed globally. A large part of northwest India, including Delhi, is currently suffering from an extreme heat crisis. A report.
A blistering heat wave is sweeping across northern India with temperatures soaring above normal. Famous tourist attractions in several cities, including Varanasi and Chandigarh, wore a deserted look as visitors' footfall plummeted amid extreme weather conditions. The mercury shot up to 43.3 degrees Celsius, 3 notches above normal at Delhi's base station Safdarjung. A spike in humidity has worsened the weather conditions, increasing discomfort outdoors. According to the IMD, isolated to scattered rain showers are expected in central Indian states. Further, strong winds and heavy rain downed trees in China's Hainan as Typhoon Wu-tip skirted around the province's western coastline on Friday on its way to southern Guangdong province and Guangxi Zhuang Autonomous Region. Meanwhile, thousands of people have been evacuated as Typhoon Wu-tip nears southern China. In South Africa, thousands of houses, roads, schools and health facilities were left caked in mud after being completely submerged in water from a winter storm that hit on Monday. President Cyril Ramaphosa, who had earlier described the floods as unprecedented, visited flood-devastated Eastern Cape province, where a torrential storm killed at least 78 people, with the search for more bodies ongoing. And finally, US President Donald Trump's dream of hosting a grand military parade in Washington on his 79th birthday on Saturday could be clouded by thunderstorms. Forecasters say there is a threat of lightning at the same time as nearly 6,000 troops, 50 helicopters and 150 armored vehicles are meant to roll through Washington, D.C., watched by thousands of spectators. Bureau Report, DD India.
South Africa has been facing unusually cold weather recently, especially across parts of the interior high belt and the southern regions. Cold fronts from the south have been sweeping in, bringing freezing temperatures, snow in some higher-lying areas and even frost in central provinces like Gauteng and the Free State. DD India's Nazneen Ismail reports.
South Africa has been gripped by a powerful cold front earlier this week, sending temperatures plummeting across multiple provinces and leaving communities scrambling to keep warm. From snow-capped mountains to icy city mornings, this is the coldest spell that the country is currently facing. A series of cold fronts sweeping in from the south has plunged much of the country into icy conditions. Provinces such as the Free State, Gauteng, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal have reported sub-zero temperatures in the early mornings, while parts of the Western and Northern Cape experienced heavy frost and even snowfall. The South African Weather Service warned of another cold front hitting the interior, with below-average temperatures persisting into the weekend. Snowfall was reported in the southern Drakensberg, Sunny Pass and parts of the Eastern Cape Highlands, transforming these areas into white wonderlands, but also leading to hazardous driving conditions. In Johannesburg, temperatures have struggled to rise above 16 degrees Celsius during the day, while overnight lows dropped to around 2 degrees Celsius. With no immediate end in sight for this cold spell, South Africans are advised to stay indoors when possible, lay up when venturing outside, and look out for the vulnerable in their communities. Meteorologists predict slightly warmer temperatures by next week, but until then, winter is making its presence felt loud and clear. For DD India, South Africa, I'm Nazneen, braving the chill and bringing you the facts from an icy Johannesburg.
And now we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Residents of Soweto in South Africa are reporting serious health concerns linked to toxic dust from a nearby gold mine dump. Many suffer from respiratory issues, sinus problems and eye irritation, attributing their conditions to prolonged exposure to airborne pollutants. In Jene, Mali, hundreds of volunteers have come together for the annual replastering of the Great Mosque, a tradition that helps preserve one of the world's most renowned mud brick structures. The participatory restoration highlights the significance of preserving architectural, religious landmarks through collective effort. The International Dance and Folklore Festival, Avaz, the Land of Friendship, has commenced on the shores of the Caspian Sea in Turkmenistan, bringing together artists from Iran, India, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. The three-day festival celebrates Turkmen dance and ancient folklore, fostering cultural exchange. And time now for some sporting action. Indian shooter Suruchi Singh won a gold medal in the women's 10-meter air pistol event at the ISSF World Cup in Germany on Friday. 19-year-old Indian athlete secured 241.9 points in the final, edging out France's Camille Jevesque in a nail-biting finish in Munich. This was India's third medal in the tournament. Earlier, Sifth Kaur Samra and Elevenel Valarivan had won bronze medals. Suruchi Singh had also clinched gold medals in the same event at the previous two World Cups held in Buenos Aires and Lima earlier this year. Close to some 700 shooters from 78 nations are competing in Munich. The Indian women's hockey team is set to kick off the second and final leg of the FIH Pro League against Australia in London on Saturday. They will face Australia, Argentina, Belgium and China in the European leg. After their London matches on Saturday and Sunday, the Indian team will head to Antwerp to face Belgium on June 21st and 22nd, followed by their final two matches against China and Berlin on June 28th and 29th. Meanwhile, the Indian men's hockey team will face Australia in Antwerp on June 14th and 15th. Ranked 5th with 15 points, the team is looking to bounce back against Australia and gain crucial points to stay in contention for the top three positions. India have been placed in Pool C alongside Germany, Ireland and Namibia for the upcoming FIH Women's Junior World Cup after the draw was announced in Chile's capital city, Santiago. This year marks a significant expansion for the tournament, with 24 teams participating for the first time. The teams have been divided into 6 pools of 4. The 11th edition of the tournament will be staged from 1st to 13th of December in Santiago. India's best performance in the tournament came in 2013 when they clinched the bronze medal in Germany. New Zealand batter Finn Allen shattered the world record for most sixes in a T20 innings, smashing 19 sixes on Friday. Allen registered the world record during a Major League Cricket 2025 match between San Francisco Unicorns and Washington Freedom. Playing for the Unicorns, the New Zealand opener broke the previous record of 18 sixes held jointly by Chris Gayle and Sahil Chauhan. Allen blasted 151 runs of just 51 balls as San Francisco posted 269 runs for 5, the highest total in MLC history. He reached his 100 of 34 balls and raced to 115 just 49 balls, making it the fastest 150 in T20 cricket. Well, records are meant to be broken. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for news and updates from India and the world. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.